of the Syracuse Planning Commission. In just a few moments, we'll begin our public hearing schedule for this evening, but before we do that, we'll take just a moment to act upon the minutes of our October 28th meeting, and then we'll proceed to the public hearings for tonight. Is there a motion for approval of our minutes of our last meeting held on October 28th?
Move approval of the minutes of October 28th, 2019.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Our minutes are approved, clearing the way for us to move into the public hearings for this evening. Just by way of background for anyone who is new to this process, as each application is announced, we ask that the applicant or the representative come forward to the podium, provide your name and address for the record, along with a brief explanation of the application involved. Following any comments from the commission members, we will then invite the members of the public to speak in favor of the application to do so. And then likewise, we will extend an invitation to the public members who wish to speak in opposition to the application. Where there are comments made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return to the podium to address those comments made in opposition. So with that, may we have our first application this evening, please?
Good evening, Commission members. Mr. Kulik. Tonight's first public hearing is R1970. This is a re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into two new lots at 220, 222 to 224, and 226 Hawley Avenue. Joseph Downing and Willard Doswell, Richard Reina, and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants of all of the properties, and all of them lie within a Business Class A zoning district.
Good evening. My name is Taisha Martin. I'm here with NITA, 101 Gertrude Street, Syracuse, New York, 13203. I'm here on behalf of application R1970, properties 220, 222-24, and 226 Hawley Avenue. 224 Hawley Avenue was acquired by the Land Bank in July of 2019. The lot measures 43 by 88 square feet and has been maintained by the adjacent owner at 226 Hawley Avenue. That's JRP Hawley Ave LLC. The Land Bank has offered to sell half of the lot to the owner at 220 Hawley, Mr. Richard Reina, and the other half to the owner at 226 Hawley Avenue, Mr. Joseph Downings and Mr. Willard Doswell. The adjacent property owners have agreed to split the vacant lot. The re-subdivision will provide more defensible space and increase the property values. The homeowners will pay taxes on the land and continue to maintain the property. And we believe that this is in the best interest of the neighborhood and the city.
Split down the middle. Questions for the applicant?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward.
Well, I would just say that we are the owners of the property acquiring it, and I couldn't hear what was being said, so we're very interested in hearing what you have to say.
Okay, well, there may not be a lot being said, but I'm seeking now to find out if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application.
In favor.
Ms. Martin just presented the summary of the application, so now I'm asking if there is anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor. Please come forward to do that. And
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I am.
Oh,
I
then-
am the neighbor of the property owner.
Okay, so please.
Your comments will be considered as part of the presentation.
Good.
As a matter of policy, we also ask members of the public who may have gotten public notice if they would like to speak in favor or against the application.
Okay, so I see no additional people to speak in favor of the application. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? And I don't see any of those, so we'll declare the hearing closed and move to our next hearing.
The next public hearing is R1972. This is also a re-subdivision to combine 2 properties into one new lot at 128 and 130 Gertrude Street. Afra Al-Swad and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are owners and applicants, and these properties both lie within a residential Class B zoning district.
Good evening again. Taisha Martin with NIDA, 101 Gertrude Street, Syracuse, New York, 13203. Here on behalf of application R1972, properties 128 and 130 Gertrude Street. 130 Gertrude Street was acquired by the Land Bank in December of 2018. The lot measures 33 by 150 square feet and has just recently been demolished. The Land Bank has offered to sell the lot to the owner at 128 Gertrude Street, Ms. Afra Aswad. Ms. Aswad would simply like to acquire the lot to expand her yard. The re-subdivision will provide more defensible space and increase the property values, and the homeowner will pay taxes on the land and maintain the property. Both NIDA and the Land Bank feel this is in the best interest of the neighborhood.
Questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. So no additional speakers. We'll declare this hearing closed and move to our third hearing.
The next public hearing is R1973, also a re-subdivision, and this is to combine three properties into two new lots at 101 to 119, 125, and 201 Wyoming Street. The Near West Side Initiative Incorporated is the owner and applicant, and all of these lie within an industrial Class A zoning district.
Good evening, Dan Query, 314 Bradford Parkway, Syracuse, New York, 13224. I am the consultant to the Near West Side Initiative, and we've previously owned the former Case Supply Warehouse. We also previously owned 201 Wyoming Street. We then acquired the former Marcellus Street, 100 block of Marcellus Street from the city of Syracuse. We also acquired the surplus land from New York State DOT to complete our project Performance Park, which is now completed, and this is the re-subdivision map to be able to combine all that land.
Questions for the applicant?
No, thank you. No.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. So again, no additional speakers. We'll declare this hearing closed and move to our fourth hearing.
The next two public hearings are companion pieces, and we did receive some new information on Friday. R1975 is a re-subdivision to combine two properties into one new lot at 300 and 324 Spencer Street. 300 Spencer Street LLC is the owner and applicant, and these properties lie within a lakefront T5 zoning district. The companion site plan review is SR 1908, and this is for demolition and new construction, and this is to construct 106,000 square foot office building, a covered parking area, make site alterations, and also they are proposing phase 2 building on the site. This is at 300 and 324 Spencer Street. 300 Spencer Street LLC is the owner and applicant, and this also is a lakefront T5 zoning district. The Planning Commission is unable to act this evening because the Syracuse Industrial Development Agency is the lead agency under seeker, and they have not yet met or made a determination. So as one of the involved agencies, you cannot act until that takes place. However, your comments, discussions, and any recommended mitigation measures will be provided in a letter from our office on your behalf to SIDA so that they can make an informed seeker decision.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Scott Freeman, Keplinger Freeman Associates Landscape Architects. My address is 7432 Donegal Way, Liverpool, New York. With me is Vince Ryan from Keplinger Freeman, the landscape architect, Matt Finn and Chad Rogers, the project architect, King & King Architects, Jeremy, I apologize, I forgot your last name, BHG, representing the owner, and then Thomas Douglas, the project representative. And I'd just like to say we've been working on this project for many months, and we've had the honor of meeting with Heather and various Steve Harris and Neil Transportation. So we've had a volley of probably 3 or 4 comment letters from each department. Our engineering has been submitted, and we're close to resubmitting on that. And Heather just notified us that our latest November submission has just been distributed, so everybody has not had a chance to review that. I can talk about the site if you'd like, or I mean, we have a panel. You have a panel. Would you like me to go through the site a little bit, maybe for starters?
It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a good start.
And if you would, while you're doing that, disengage the microphones. This is being recorded, so that should be able to follow along with you as you.
Sure. So we have the project location, Solar Street, West Kilpatrick, Spencer. It's interesting, BHG current facilities right here, they're growing, and right now they have office space throughout the city. It's very inefficient, so they really have a need for this project. So when this property became available, this was just a great site. The hotel's right here, just to give you, it's a very prominent location. So King has worked, and worked on a kind of a cornerstone right at the intersection of Solar and West Kilpatrick, the proposed multi-story building on the corner, the covered parking building, if you will, here, and then the future building fronting Spencer Street. So that kind of gives you what it looks like from 5,000 feet. The other thing I can attest to is we've done our due diligence with the soil mitigation and asbestos removal. The city was very good in working with us before site plan approval, but Tom Douglas is here, and we've been working with the soil management program. We have ambient engineering with that, and the demolition process is underway. Here's our layout plan and engineering plan. So again, the building, and Vince and we've worked with the city. Solar Street being a main thoroughfare, there's no vehicular egress there. And what we're proposing is an entrance visitor loop off Kilpatrick. And then if you're a visitor or management, and then you have the staff lot. We have a gated, a fob red gate entrance into the main lot here, and then we have 2 gated entrances off of Spencer Street coming into the lot. So we've spent some time with Neil Burke and walked the street with Steve Harris, and we've come to some consensus that this works. So that's gone well for us. Also, while we're here, we have a storm detention system worked out. The soils are very well draining, and it's going to be a series of level pipes that hold a high quantity of water, and they'll be released into the city's storm system at an agreed upon rate, which we've worked out with Mirza and John Kivalan. So we're like a couple days away from that response letter, or is that response letter going out? It was okay, 11/17. We just resubmitted, so we're waiting to hear back from Mirza and John. So you could flip it. This is just pretty much the layout plan. Things that the city likes to see, we like to see, is ADA compliance. So we have our handicap accessible parking spaces, and a chart that summarizes that. We have that count. Our parking is more sufficient and beyond the city regulations. So I think that's covered in the data chart as well. The raw zoning, lot coverage and building setbacks with the Harborfront regulations. We have, I should back up on this. We have the fencing and hedging. We've received comments back from Steve Harris and the city saying we're in compliance. So we're going to go with these ornamental stone piers with the same stone that matches the bottom layer of the building. And then we'll have an ornamental fence and a 3.5-foot hedge pretty much going around the entire site, and then we're leaving it open in the front just to make that entrance give it a little pop. Yeah, you can kind of see it right here. The hedge is in the background there. So you might as well go to the planting plan. And Friday, Vince and I had a nice conversation with Steve Harris, and we worked out the the tree species and the coverage for the lot. You know, there's a lot of trees. You know, want this to look nice. This is a high visibility location, so we have a lot of diversity. You know, in our drainage areas, we have you know, plants that'll soak up the moisture and look good. And then we have that hedge material and the double row of ornamental trees around the perimeter. So we're working our way down the checklist. So we're ready to get that back into Steve's hands. And of course, lighting. It's just, you know, numbers and these dark spots. Those are the lights, the light poles. I don't know if you can see this. There's the buildings. We have the parking lot divided into 6 bays, 5, 6, and all the numbers are compliant with. You know, the numbers represent foot candles. Everything zeroes out at the right of way, I believe, which has some overlap with the city lighting. So that's all compliant. We're working out one detail. We're still in the process of working. We're coordinating how we connect the right of way lights with the city's power system, because that would not be the responsibility of the owner. So we got to work out that detail. But that's pretty close to complete. And then we provided some illustrative sections. Again, talking with Steve Harris and Neil Burke. We have the snow shelf, the sidewalk, a plant buffer, and the property line. And you know, on Spencer Street, for example, we're going to go to, what are we going to, a 30-foot street? 36-foot street with a wider, you know, you get a higher pedestrian flow there, so we're going to go with an 8-foot wide sidewalk. Everything else is 5. And this is just a section of the building. There's that stone banding I spoke of, and then there's a utility corridor area where we have a masonry faced wall, and then you get into the rhythm of the fencing, the plants appear, and then another 100 feet or so. So it's really going to look nice. So we really want to make a welcoming statement to the neighborhood. So that's kind of the site from 5,000 or 10,000 feet. It might be good for Chad to give a little architectural overview, and then maybe when he's done, we can field questions.
Scott?
Good evening. Chad Rogers, King Architects, 358 West Jefferson. So as Scott alluded to, the proposed building, main body of the building is a 5-story office building, 100,000 square feet. Attached to it is a covered parking wing. It's all by building code 1 building by definition. That will house 15 covered parking spaces in the first phase of construction, which is what we're proposing now. That structure is designed to hold 4 more floors above it so that it can be office expansion space above the parking structure that's proposed. And that would connect directly to the 5-story building, be part of, by building code definition, again, the 5-story building. For BHG's real goal with the project is to take advantage of the great character and plan for the Inner Harbor area. So they envision a campus-like setting that is urban, walkable, connects by street network to their existing facility at 201 Solar. And Scott's got the site plan. So we've, with the siting of the building and the planning of the site, have focused on the Solar Street edge of the property and really taking both corners into account. We have 3 frontages, 3 streets, as you can see by the site plan, which has presented, I think, some opportunity to, from a planning perspective, to create an urban edge along Solar with the first building, pedestrian courtyard, parking setback, landscaping, and some outdoor space, and then set aside space for a future building, which would be most likely 2-story office, more expansion space. BHG is growing rapidly. They're currently, I think, in at least 5 locations in the city. They're spread out around the city. They're taking new space often, growing quickly, and are looking forward to getting everyone in one spot here while retaining their 201 Solar Street building for additional space. So again, the building is basically is all office. It's headquarters use, so it has other components like employee break area, cafe, indoor and outdoor space, a kind of all-staff meeting area, a large kind of amphitheater, atrium area within the building, which you can see in the plans. Mainly office space in addition to those support spaces. Exterior materials are called out and were submitted. You can see it's a stone base, wood accent, you can see on the rendering as well, and then a light metal flush panel for the majority of the body of the building. So that's generally the quick update. I think we've responded to some deviations in the zoning, which I believe you received today, which describes some of the characteristics and reasons for doing what we've done in the design and with the site plan.
Thank you. The material that we had last week, I think, had a set of maybe 13 waivers that would be required under the plans that we had at that point in time. Tonight, that number may have changed. If so, can you tell us what the updated number of waivers being requested is? And then could you walk us through those items that would require a waiver and provide an explanation of each one?
Absolutely. If you can just bear with us for 10 seconds. General, and this has been updated, you'll see in general the ones that came off the list primarily deal with tree species and planting locations. So those were easily addressed and have come off the list. The ones having to do with the building itself still, in most cases, remain. So I'll walk through just briefly, and then I'm happy to take questions. So if you have the November 15th summary, item 1A, there was a comment on our door that comes out on the east side of the building to Solar Street. There's an exit stair there that exits the building. It's pointed out that no rear doors, loading docks, or service entries are allowed on the street frontages. We have a door that we have to get out of a stairway on, so we're happy to make any change that might be required there as far as putting glass on it or dressing up that a little bit. It's an exit door. Item 1B talks about the one principal building and one outbuilding on each lot. Our read of the definition of what we've submitted is that the covered parking in the office building by building code definition are a single building. One is 1 story, one is 5 story. They're connected by a covered walkway. We do propose a second or future building, mainly to, again, reinforce the street line, the facade line along Solar and to the corner of Spencer, and also allow for parking that is near Spencer to be in the second or third layer behind that proposed future building plot, which will be a landscaped area proposed as phase 1. And then I believe we skip over some planting ones. Skip down to 1H. Talks about that the facade shall be built parallel in principle to the main frontage line for 70% of its length. So I guess two points there. On Kirkpatrick Street to the north, the property line is not parallel to Kirkpatrick Street for a section nearest the intersection, and that was due to the Kirkpatrick Street being realigned. It used to come over straight and then jog to get onto Court. The city realigned that Kirkpatrick Street to align with Court Street opposite, and in doing so, there is kind of a wedge-shaped piece of city property there that is part of the right-of-way. So we've taken the tact to make the building facade parallel to the street in lieu of the property line, so that, one, it creates a view to the harbor, but I think from a planning perspective, that would be what would be desired, is to align to or parallel to the street itself. The 70% of the frontages is a very difficult thing to do on this site because of the size and the 3 frontages that we have. We can't quite get a building to go 70% of the entire site. It'd be a large one-story warehouse. So we've taken, in lieu of that, taken the tack to provide a screen of fencing, shrubbery, and trees, a combination of that, or building, or landscape wall. The landscape wall is primarily right in this section here, which separates the main employee outdoor courtyard from Solar Street. 1I is materials. Required materials are limited to brick, stone, wood, or cementitious clapboard siding per zoning. We are using wood and stone, but in lieu of cementitious clapboard siding, which we don't really believe to be in scale with a 5-story building, it's more of a smaller residential material. We're proposing substitution of the smooth metal panel that you see in the rendering, not unlike what was done across the street at the Aloft Hotel. Has a similar product on it. It's more in scale and keeping with a building of this size. 1J is windows. The zoning talks about how all architectural openings shall be no wider than they are tall, so either square or vertically oriented. The vast majority of the windows, as you can see in here, are that. We have a handful on the northern facade that the masonry opening itself is horizontal. You can see in this rendering. However, we've broken up the individual window panes to be vertically oriented, but the main reason we're looking to do as much horizontal opening as we can is the view to the inner harbor, and maximizing some key public or common spaces within the building to have that view. Again, the Aloft Hotel has some sections similar to that, so we're using that as a precedent. And lastly is 1L, the last one, signage. The wording for signage is fairly limited in the T5. It says that shall not exceed, it's either 2 or 3 feet in height. It doesn't talk about an area. We have 3 frontages again here, so we're attempting to put signage on 3 of the facades, also putting us a ground-mounted sign here next to the main entrance driveway off of Kirkpatrick to indicate where visitors can enter the main visitor loop. And we use the Aloft as some precedent there as far as signage goes, and I think we've included some pictures of that for your reference. Sorry for talking so long.
Questions?
Well, we appreciate the efforts that you put into talking to the departments. I know you mentioned there are a couple of volleys between engineering and the arborist. It's commendable. First, it's a great looking project, and we just want to keep in mind the scale of that entire area. We know that there are developments there that are multi-story high. This is 5 stories. I guess my question goes to the garage. In this rendering, the garage isn't visible from what you're calling the frontage. So where is it? Because I'm trying to look back at the drawings here. If it's 5 stories for the main building and then 1 story with a connecting walkway. So technically, would it be behind the building?
Correct. It is just south, so the 5-story building occupies the corner. Just south of that and set back from solar, covered parking is this block right here.
Okay. In the setback, is that a buffer, or is there going to be parking in that area?
No. This is where I'm
Right, that area right there.
Courtyard space. So that's planted, pavered, pedestrian, employee, staff space, outdoor space. And it is directly outside of the employee break room, kitchen, cafe area. So there could be some outdoor seating there.
And again, away from the main frontage of the building, that courtyard area is on one of the side streets.
Correct. It fronts on Solar Street. Yep, exactly. So we're as far as we can from the two streets and connected to the main building. And Vince just pointed out, just I'll reaffirm, there is a 6 foot tall, 8 foot tall garden wall that goes from the corner of the building. So again, we wanted to make that courtyard space feel a little private. It is right on Solar Street, which gets a fair amount of traffic.
This was the building here, and this is a screen wall that's actually a little longer. And so you have street, Solar Street, sidewalk, wall, then you have a 60-foot wide courtyard area, and the parking lot. So this would be the face of the back entry. So Solar Street's over here. Solar Street's over here. Let's go back and see it. So it's the back side of the building, and utilities are behind that. So we also built the wall so that we're not putting plants around Niagara National Grid transformer. There will be a screen wall around it, so you won't be able to see the generator and the transformer from the street.
Excuse me, what sheet number were you looking at?
L700.
And what's the height of the wall you were just pointing to?
8.
8 foot height.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the discussion's useful, again, for this body and also because our comments will go to SIDA. The conversation is useful because we are, again, looking at scale, looking at proportion, looking at the treatments. And it is amazing. It is good that you understand. Since 2016, they've worked very hard to try to find trees and other shrubbery that won't allow an invasion from some pest that'll do damage and eventually blight the area. For the screen is, again, safe for the transformer, so it extends around the main building. It does not go to the parking lot because its job is really to screen whatever the utility company and whatever its name is by the time this construction is done. All good intentions there. So screening is, as you know, important for any development. The garage itself, there's a mention that on one of the floors there'll be some kind of screening.
Yes, so we can provide a drawing of this. If you have drawing A302 in your package, it shows the long elevations of the parking. So in the bottom drawing, we're looking at the east facade. So this would be the Solar Street facade. You see the 5-story building to the right. You see the one-level covered parking to the left. It's a combination of stone panels that match the base of the building and vented screen panels that allow this to be an open parking structure, so we don't have to ventilate it. We're using natural ventilation. The proposed panel will be a custom screen panel by Artisan Panels. This is not the right color, but it's several different options for a decorative screen, metal screen. And the color will match the window frames, dark bronze color.
Thank you. And a lot of this is because there'll be conversation. We try to maintain a record here that supports, again, your application with us, and also as it goes to the other body. If there's any questions, they can see that we were working toward the exceptions And it seems like you've tried to answer the questions about what we call deviations or waivers. So I thank all of the presenters for doing that. And we're just trying to, if we have to come back with any other questions, we're trying to basically say in this first presentation, we've agreed on some of the areas already that we can now take out with staff, of course, viewing carefully whatever I say, that we're meeting those exceptions or those deviations. So thank you. My questions are answered.
Thank you. I don't think you touched on the trash storage screening in this presentation. It had been cited earlier as needing a waiver. Can you tell me what the status of that is?
Yes, the prior submission we had, what was that, PVC or screen wall. We've since taken the city's recommendations, we've gone to a 6-foot height masonry enclosure, and it's actually located, I guess, it's the southeast corner of the parking lot. The truck would come off, waste recycling vehicle would come in off of
Spencer?
Spencer Street, come in, load, unload, and leave. And it has 3 sides facing the street. Would be a 6-foot height wall with the same stone that's on the base level of the building, the same stone that extends along the utility port, and the same stone that's faced the covered garage. So we really tried to bring it all together. And we would also have a precast coping at the top of the 6 feet here, and precast coping on the top of the 8-foot wall here. And then again, every 100 feet or so, there'll be a stone masonry pier with the same stone again, and between the masonry piers is a 4-metal fence. And the gate of the enclosure would be. We were working on it.
We're going to use the same. We're going to use the same screen material for the gate on the garbage enclosure as well as on the transformer enclosure, so that there's some access. Obviously, need access.
The framing would be like a residential or commercial fencing, but on the front of it would be decorative panels. So we've gone beyond vinyl. Low-end vinyl would be very, very attractive.
And can you sort of recap what's happening at the southeastern corner where the second building will appear eventually, but is not part of this initial phase of the project, correct? What will happen on that location?
That's a good question. The design intent is simply to have that be just an open lawn area on the PhD property. Beyond that, there'll be, at every change in direction, there'll be a masonry with the stone column with the hedge. So that'll essentially be a green space. The city street trees will be here, and we'll be having our plant material as shown on the plan, but we're just going to leave it earmarked as a green space. Kind of a little depression, but it'll just be lawn that'll be maintained by PhD. So that's our design. We're not putting parking there. It's just going to be lawn.
Okay. Any sense of the timing of the second building, when that might?
Well, the economy keeps doing what it's doing, and the expansion of the building has been pent up for this, so we got a little bit of capacity in this building, so it's tough to. If I can answer that question,
I bet you would be. And then one last one, I think, for me. Back to the question of the windows for the building and the vertical orientation. I understand the desire to sort of capture the view of the inner harbor with the horizontal orientation, but couldn't you still capture some of that with the vertical orientation that the regulations call for?
Certainly could capture some of it. We were just trying to maximize the horizontal, the view from interior and views from inside to out. It's largely open office space as we go up on that northern facade. So just trying to get as much views out from what is a fairly square building. So some of the internal spaces can be some distance from the facade. So that was our intent with that. Again, we tried to break up those panels with vertically oriented to capture the essence of the I think, intent of the zoning.
So I guess I was wrong. Do one more then. Do you have a summary of the number, or does staff have a summary of the number of waivers required now with the updated plans that were distributed tonight?
Since Jeff was keeping track, but I do have one question after.
My answer to your question is based on the replies in red text that I received Friday afternoon and you received tonight. I've not verified anything on any plans. So in your report, item 12, that's paragraph 3A3 regarding the rear door. That has not been corrected, and it remains a deviation.
Could I ask a question there, Jeff? What would we need to do to take it off the list? Is it simply making it a glass entry door? Because that would be easy, and we could.
Shouldn't be there. Can't have rear doors, loading docks, or service entries along frontages, so.
Right, but we have 3 frontages, and we have to get people out of the building on at least 2 sides.
Can you make it front door? Like a real entranceway instead of service-looking door?
Yeah, we can definitely change the aesthetic of it to not be a solid door.
Right, but then rather than be an exit from a stairwell, can it be an entrance to a lobby and have the stairwell exit into the lobby? I imagine this is a building code issue.
It is a building code issue.
And I cannot speak to building codes, so I'm just asking if that can be considered.
It can, but I don't believe we're going to be able to do it from a building code perspective. We need to get the stair directly to the exterior.
So they may not be able to fix that. So that remains a deviation tonight.
Yeah.
Paragraph 3A4, which is item 13 in the commission's report, continues to be a deviation. The zoning ordinance defines the principal building. It defines outbuildings. The parking garage is an outbuilding. And the future 2-story building would be a second principal building, so that continues to be a deviation that necessitates a waiver. Item 14, paragraph 3B5, appears to have been corrected by the replies, and I'll just verify on the landscaping plan that that's been corrected. Item 15, paragraph 3B5, it appears the 125-foot gap has been closed. Did you close up the 65-foot gap? That was not addressed in the comments.
Side of the parking lot.
Maybe we need to clarify where you want that 65.
Yeah, we were clear on that.
Yeah.
Side.
On the west side of the parking lot, correct, towards the middle.
Where we have the 5.
Correct.
Yeah, we could certainly.
take that right across.
Yeah, we'll take of the 5. We'll remove 2, and we'll continue the.
I realize that's.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, it's.
So presumably, item 15 would be corrected.
Okay.
Item 16, paragraph 3D1. I respect what the city arborist has told you. The zoning ordinance provides the list of acceptable trees. It's not been amended. You can certainly provide the arborist's comments to the Planning Commission as justification for granting the waiver. But unless you've actually gone in and changed trees to comply with Part B, Section 9, that remains a deviation, with the understanding that the arborist has accepted what you're proposing and would be offered as justification. Item 17, paragraph 3E3, same, it appears by the comments that this has been corrected. Item 18, paragraph 3C5, tree plantings at the ends of all parking bays. It appears that this has been corrected. The facade disposition and facade length, item 19, paragraph 5A1, appears to continue to be a deviation due to the proposal itself and the size of the lot. That has to do with the 70% build-to length. Then item 20, paragraph 5B1, has not been addressed, and you're continuing to propose the use of an insulated composite metal panel. Item 21, paragraph 5B4, has not been corrected, and you're continuing to propose some facade and architectural openings wider than they are tall, specifically CW1, CW3, CW5, CW6, CW15, W1, W4, and the roof deck opening. And what I've heard this evening could be offered as justification to the Planning Commission, unless you've physically redrawn the elevation plans to address those openings. Then item 22, paragraph 5C2, appears to have been corrected with respect to the masonry screening. And then item 23, paragraph 5D, appears not to have been addressed. Signage is still a deviation with, provided you're still proposing the 3 wall signs, 2 of which are 8 feet in height.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Yes, that is very helpful. Thank you for walking us through that list. So it looks as though 5 have been addressed, taking everything at face value this evening, and the remainders would remain on that list needing a waiver. Okay, that is helpful.
Yeah, just one. One item, section I, in regards to materials. You guys explained that due to the mass of the building, we do not believe the scale is appropriate. I would ask for you just to elaborate on what you explained for that
Sure.
response.
Sure. So the permitted material is, sorry, bear with me for 1 second,
Is cementitious clapboard siding. So in other words, usually it's a 4 or 6 inch siding that you would see on a smaller, like a residential structure, not on a 5-story building, not really suited for that high in the air in our weather. So in lieu of that, really suited more for a 1 to 3 story structure. We're proposing insulated metal panel. You can see the similar to what was used across the street at the hotel, but it's a composite metal panel, so it's insulation and metal skin all in one, highly energy efficient, easy to install, and we think very attractive and fitting for the scale. Instead of vertical coursing every 3, 4, or 5 inches, these would be more like 24 to 30 or 36 inch panels, depending on where we are in the building, tall. And that's illustrated in the rendering used, and on the elevations as well.
say similar to the A-lofts? How similar?
So I have a picture.
I will grab the mic if you don't mind.
Excuse me. We would be similar in scale to that. On our black and white 2D elevations, we show the joint pattern on the architectural A301 and A302. So, we've aligned them again with windows, sort of similar to what A-loft's done. Slightly different configuration.
I think that's it for now.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like?
I just, sure.
Please go right ahead. Just give your name and address, and then the comments you want to make about the deviation.
Sure, I just wanted to make a record and just get some clarity from the board in terms of the deviation with the... my name first.
Address, please.
Jeremy Callie, 201 Solar from Baker's Healthcare Group. I'm one of the attorneys at BHG. We have proposed the future two-story building on Spencer Street, and I think a lot of the purpose for that and us considering that was in conversations with zoning to ensure that we comply with the regulations because we are on 3A streets. It's a 6-acre piece of property on 3A streets. And since our primary building is on the corner of Kirkpatrick and Solar, to be in compliance with the zoning regulations in terms of where the parking has to be phased in, we need it to be in the second to third layer. And so it is a requirement that we propose a building there, which we're willing to do and look to do that in the future. But if it is also a deviation and in contradiction with another regulation, we would certainly receive your guidance. If you would prefer us to comply with the regulation of only one primary building as opposed to where the parking's phased, we're certainly willing to do either one. But I just wanted to make a record that the reason for that deviation is to be in compliance with a different regulation. So we'll take either one. All right?
And I think that's why the system includes a provision for waivers.
Thank you.
One of the reasons.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I do have a question. We did not note this as a deviation because I think I was presuming that the retail frontage requirement of the facade on West Kirkpatrick was either an arcade, a shop front, or a terrace and light court. So can you just illustrate how that facade meets either one of those frontage types?
So we defined, we made some changes since we spoke on that day. We've added the patio. It's defined as terrace. So raised terrace above street level, above sidewalk level, and it's on the north facade of the building, west end. Outdoor patio essentially on grade, defined as terrace. I believe meeting the definition of terrace.
Well, it has to be elevated.
Sure.
It's either an elevated garden or terrace or a sunken light court.
Right, so it's
Sidewalk elevation's 374, 75, and the finished floor of the building is 377.5. So
Okay.
if you can look at,
Yeah, it's
it's about 3.5 foot grade change with that front lawn area. So this is the front facade. So the first 45 feet along the length of that corner of the building, 15 feet out, there's a plaza area, and we have some plants in front of it to screen it so that area can be utilized by people coming out of the front entrance, coming to the north. Yeah, it's literally 15 by 50 feet. 7 feet. 15 by 7, so pretty large ladder
Terrace.
terrace.
It's not evident on your plans nor the presentation material. I understand what you're saying and I believe you, but on the real drawings, I don't see it, and that presentation material, it's either hidden or not visual. So is there any way that you could, I mean, especially on here?
We could do a 3D image.
No, section.
Well, this is what's going to go in the resolution.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that-
we'll do a section, yeah. Yep,
That
I
would be
got you.
really helpful. Okay, thank you.
Additional questions over here?
No, but if you are all finished, I just wanted to give the advice of the commission that if there's any conditions or mitigation measures or recommendations to give the applicant so that they can consider those when looking at even further reducing the number of exceptions or deviations, so that I can put that in a letter to CIDA, that would be really helpful. So this is a really good venue to expand on any other things or of the deviations that the commission sees, which are the biggest concerns that you'd be looking for, maybe some revisions or any other further explanation and justification for.
Right, and I think we had some of that discussion today. I mean, one of my questions focused on the orientation of the windows. That remains a concern for me. So I was hoping that the applicant could revisit that and see if that might be possible to make an adjustment there. I think Walter had a couple of similar points, not on the windows, but on the other deviation requests. Materials as well. So I think behind the questions is implicit is a notion that it would be helpful to try to revisit some of those points to see if further adjustments, revisions could be made, and as Heather said, further reduce the need for the waivers if that's possible in any one or more than one of those areas. I'm also cognizant of the fact that I haven't asked for any comments for or against yet, so I don't want to overlook that. I don't think there are a whole lot of people now in the room who are not associated with the project, but that's beside the point. So I don't mean to be speaking for my colleagues, but I just was making an umbrella comment about the questions kind of implicitly suggesting a revisit, one more look at some of these areas requiring, at this stage, waivers to possibly reduce or eliminate some more of those. And we're grateful that in the subsequent conversations after we had our initial packet, that additional conversation and work was done to bring, by my count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, reduce the number of waivers by 5, as you outlined tonight. So that's really helpful. And to the extent we can make further progress on that, that's a really positive thing, I think. And unless my colleagues want to weigh in with their perspectives, I'll pause to do that, and then we'll see if there are comments from any members of the public.
I would just say, piece of advice would be to focus on the greenery, like the trees that we talked about, and then the door, that storage door, I would say focus on that. That way you can kind of mend that issue and go from there. Because I think that's probably, in my opinion, one of the really important ones, because it's pretty complex because there's code involved and then just the build out of what you're trying to do. So I would like give that a lot of attention and see how you can fix that. And that's all I have. And thank you for your compliance with everything. Pretty open.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
So with that, let's pause, and if there is anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application, please come forward to do so, providing your name and address and then your comments. Can't see if there's anybody behind that easel or not, but it's probably empty. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come forward to do so. Okay, so we've heard from everyone who would like to speak on these two applications this evening. As Heather indicated at the outset, we are unable to take action this evening. We are awaiting further action by the Industrial Development Authority. So once they have completed their action, we will be able to move forward on these two proposals. So, gentlemen, thank you all very much for the project itself and for the presentation and for fielding our questions tonight.
Welcome, thank you.
So these two hearings will remain open. We have no additional hearings this evening, correct? So we can return to the top of the agenda and look for action on what we've heard tonight. So that will take us to R-19-70, the re-subdivision on Hawley Avenue. The presentation by the Land Bank. Is there no speakers other than the applicant speaking? Is there a motion on this re-subdivision?
Motion to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That re-subdivision is approved. Our next one is R-19-72, the proposed re-subdivision on Gertrude Street. Again, the presentation by the Land Bank representative and no additional speakers for that application. Is there a motion on this re-subdivision?
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The Gertrude Street re-subdivision is approved. Our next one is R-19-73, the proposed re-subdivision on Wyoming Street. We did have a presentation from the representative from the applicant. No additional speakers. Is there a motion on this one?
Yes, motion to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That Wyoming Street re-subdivision is approved. The next two involving the Spencer Street project, the re-subdivision and site review, we hold open. We do have one item of new business, and that is a time extension request. Heather, can you? It's the overview on that. We have a letter here from the applicant, but
The applicant has not, SP 1804, the special permit for a restaurant, they request a time extension because they have not been able to facilitate and complete all of the improvements. So they are requesting a June 30th, 2020 extension.
okay. And so this does not require a public hearing. A simple time extension. Is there a motion for action on the requested time extension to June 30 of 2020?
Just to let you know, typically you do grant 12 months. This is 15 months.
Madam Legal Counsel, is there any concern that we ought to have in terms of 15 versus 12, or is that allowable? Is that
I'm not aware of any. Are you? I think it's discretionary. I'm not aware of any. I can double check that, but no, I believe it's your discretion.
okay?
I mean, typically when they ask for 2 years or 18 months, you have granted only 12. This is just 15, so.
Given that, I would stick to past precedent and recommend 12 months.
Okay.
And they can come back if they need it.
Okay.
I think that one of the reasons they wanted the 15 months is because they have to do some digging up and some planting of grass.
Oh.
So March would be when their time was up for 12 months. I think the reason for the extra months is to be able to plant that grass and put in the sidewalks
Okay.
in non-inclement weather.
I don't know what you mean, because at the end of March, I'm expecting 75-degree weather.
Yes.
But I'm probably unrealistic.
Yes. And I always listen to my attorney, but I do recall that the timing of this was such that the months did not agree
Okay.
with actually doing what he was supposed to do and what
Okay.
was in the resolution.
That's a good recall, let me tell you. And I think that provides probably adequate justification to go the 3 additional months.
I would agree that they have justified and distinguished themselves from other cases where they weren't able to provide that sort of justification.
Okay, and we should maybe cite that in the motion to,
I would, yes.
okay. So with that in mind, is there a motion to act upon the requested extension to June 30th? Perhaps noting the conditions just cited.
Right, for the record, then, I move to approve an extension of time and ask rather than 12 months specifically, or grant a 15-month extension of time based on the factors cited by the person developing the restaurant, that there's essentially a season for everything, and we want to be mindful of, and give them a realistic amount of time to complete their project.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the time extension request is approved. And also on our meetings, in addition, or on our agenda rather, in addition to the authorizations for our December meeting, should we talk now about the schedule for?
Well, I would advise that
we
you
have-
hold this item until all of you are
Yeah,
here.
two people
and
missing.
can kind of look at it and absorb it. And also, we tried to coordinate this with the Board of Zoning Appeals in case something had to go to both of you.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, however, we just got the Common Council's schedule like Thursday or Friday. So I've just been going through that, and I want to make sure that if something has to go from here to the Common Council, that there is not a delay. So this could change.
Okay.
To
Well,
be
then-
continued on December 5th.
Okay.
9th.
Thank,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, that
so
does make
sorry.
sense, given the new schedule for the council, and we got 2 of our members not here.
Yeah.
We want to
Thank you.
be sure that's a workable schedule for everybody. So the last thing then would be the authorizations for December the 9th.
Yes.
And it looks like we've got 10 cases plus the 2 carryover from tonight.
The 10
Well,
include.
we included
Oh.
those.
You're ahead of us. Yes, indeed, they are here. Okay. That was very efficient. So 10 for December the 9th. Is there a motion to authorize those hearings?
Yes, motion to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Those hearings are authorized for our next meeting. Is there anything else we need to take care of tonight in terms of business?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned to return on the 9th of December, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.